I want to invite you on a personal journey with me to explore how art making and travel can be vehicles for personal transformation. I will share the lessons that I'm trying to implement for myself and take you along the way. This is the first episode of Wanderings, and I can't wait to share my journey with you. My name is Pedro Bonatto, and let's start in Cairo. This was 5 months ago. I was so sure that this was not going to be a false start, that finally the project I've been thinking about for years was going to come out. But no matter what I tried, I could not finish it. A decade of notes and ideas, hours and hours of footage, thousands of photographs, every beginning already started in ruins. The ruins felt too massive for a resurrection. Where was the map of the afterlife? Did it even exist? I had no idea that the key was already with me. When I look back at that guy, I think I know what went wrong, what he couldn't see. It was 10 years creating photography, music, and 5 years taking the whole world in and holding his breath. He hasn't learned yet to exhale and choose the first note. It's like I was trying to tell 1,001 stories in one night. So let's see if maybe I can do better this time. Perhaps, indeed, unfinished beginnings are like old ruins. And what do you do when you find ruins? You dig for relics. So this is the first episode of Wanderings, and it is starting in Cairo. Yalla, let's go on an excavation together. A little warning before we begin our descent. Egypt is not just about pyramids and tombs. It is about Taksim, improvisation, dealing with the unexpected. And even if it is a bit scary and you're not sure how it's going to work, somehow it gets the job done. So you learn that good enough sometimes is good enough. And I arrive here at a very special time. It is the first time that I'm going to experience Ramadan. The first thing you notice are these lamps and decorations that they put around all over the city. Rich and poor, everybody trying to, in a way, shine a light into darkness together. It is a whole month of prayer, fasting, contemplation, but also of being together and preparing the meals for the evening. Ramadan is an old tradition. In Egypt, it started almost 1,400 years ago. In the streets, they are unusually empty. Well, for Cairo standards, it's as if the city took a moment to breathe. And this atmosphere actually makes me want to go and see if I can find a Ramadan lamp to have for my collection and for joining the celebration here in Cairo. So let's see what we can find. I do have a thing for lamps. Even when I travel with one, and I try to collect them all over the world to be in my collection of lights from different cultures. Here they have lamps of all kinds, but I only noticed in Ramadan that they have lamps for kids. It's a way to let the kids play with the mythology in their own way. I was not expecting that. I was also not expecting that I would find the perfect lamp. A simple walk in Cairo is an excavation in itself. It's a city that rebuilds on top of ruins, new things, unfinished things. It refuses to finish and it keeps reinventing it again and again and again. Just as an example, right here, here are the pyramids. The pyramids, by the time of the first Ramadan, were already 3,000 years old. And now, let me show you what I found. If there is one thing I love, is mixing cultures. And today I found another layer, this handshake between cultures and times, showing their findings about the human soul and the world. So this is my Ramadan lamp. It's one for the kids. And it's kind of cool because it has interpretation for their language, speaking where they are. But now comes the mix. My favorite superhero in childhood. And I think that's awesome. Another layer in real time. Showing you again. The only thing pure is the mixture. So, Ramadan Kareem from Spider-Man. But I didn't have this lamp 5 months ago. This is another story starting. Back then, I was searching for a very different light. I arrived in Cairo holding the weight of 1,001 beginnings and an inner war. 3 factions were battling for attention. One was already living from art. He was lucky that all his jobs involved a camera or an instrument. His craft was helping to build other people's visions. Another longed to find a home, to immerse himself in cultures and discover where he belonged. But there was another that wanted to create, to share the fruits of curiosity and exploration. He was in love with the world, in love with finding and creating connections in everything. And he was the one most neglected. How to combine all of them in a common cause? Maybe Cairo held the answer. I have always been fascinated by the Orientalist painters who used the art to open up the world. They made paintings and sketches and field notes and immersed themselves in the cultures they encountered. Their works still echo in the ancient streets of Cairo. In a way, I was continuing their tradition centuries later. If their tools were brushes and notebooks, which tools would they use in the 21st century? So wanderings began. It was going to be my sketchbook, not a castle, but a pirate ship, one that shared treasures instead of hoarding them. I had found my lamp, and it was time to shine a light in the ruins. I planned a whole season to present all the projects I created over the years. Suddenly, I was playing, experimenting, seeing my old creations in a new light. I felt this desire to combine all my passions into one multi-layered project, culminating in a grand art exhibit. But I was falling in the same trap once again. Plans and ideas piled on the wall, turning a wall of ideas into a labyrinth I couldn't get out. And my time in Cairo was about to end. There were the ruins again, another beginning, just another castle in the sky. Maybe my photos just gotten too old to be seen. But legend says you have to find the clearing in the forest that looks the darkest to you. Maybe like Shahrazad, the way to survive until the morning was to tell a story. The one I've been refusing to tell. My own. That night, I entered the ruins, one candle against the darkness, housing my untold 1001 beginnings. In this place, I made my first song, my sorrow bathed in warm droplets of hope. In all my wanderings, I found no map to the afterlife. Not even the ancient Egyptians could pull that one off. And I didn't want to be buried in a tomb of relics never seen. The first light, the first note, were there right in front of me. My job was not to see, but to reveal. Because I was a photographer at heart, and playing with light and shadow was my domain. And along the way, I learned to use music as color. And I never asked myself, what does the relic want? It was patiently waiting, asking for both light and shadow to reveal its beauty. But for artists, relics are not found. They are made. And the photograph wants to be seen. So I just got back home from printing the photos, and there is something magical about seeing the work that you did, in this case, like 10 years ago, in print. We as photographers and as digital creators, we sort of like don't have this tangible thing anymore for some reason. And I think it's pretty cool to see it. So let me show you. There's something kind of magical when you start actually doing things that were supposed to happen a long time ago without guilt or shame and all that, but actually going through the process, is that I started this project about 10 years ago. And it took me to different places around the world. I shot this in like 6 different countries, 3 continents, 50 people involved. And now I'm actually seeing it in print, right here in the Middle East. And it's kind of cool because I was inspired by these Orientalist painters from 100, 200, 300 years ago, because they came here and they showed for the first time, before cameras, before photos, before any kind of high technology, they actually came here and did those paintings and then created the interest in the Middle East, and in a way started the revolution of travel as a hobby, as like a destination, not as learning or as having to. And then this shot in Canada with international ensemble of artists. Shout out to Kranti and Tatiana for being my models for this one. I got inspired by the Middle East while I was abroad and finally got a chance to come here. And then this project continues by printing it here in the Middle East, presenting, hopefully, to the local population and abroad, and to keep doing the mixture, because the only thing pure, really, is the mixture. It was time to hang the photo on the wall for a first private viewing. And for that, I invited Jana, my wife, who was there with me from the beginning, to be the first one to experience the vision starting to come to light. I don't know where we're going to meet next time, but I do know it's going to be at the end of Ramadan and my birthday. So I'm giving myself an early gift. The first relic of wanderings exists. A photograph is finally ready to be seen. And it was not old. It was just waiting to be young again. And I hope maybe one day it will find a home to someone that is inspired to start their own new beginnings. But I was very rude to my former self. I interrupted him. So how about we let him finish this episode the way he wanted, with the first exhale into the world. Okay, with just a few days left, it's time to get this thing on the computer and towards you. So I hope this works. What do I have to sacrifice if I'm going to be an artist in the 21st century and have my work be useful and inspirational for people? I will have to let go of seeking comfort on the face of fear, to show imperfect work, to start again and do better on the next one, to learn that discipline is really devotion to your craft. I guess I should hear the advice of Thoreau in the end. If one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in common hours. If you have built castles in the air, your work need not be lost. That is where they should be. Now, put the foundations under them. You know, the pyramids may have been indeed the tombs, fancy tombs for old kings, but I think today they're being reimagined to something even more beautiful. Because instead of serving one person in the afterlife, it serves all of us in this one. It's a landmark of human achievement, of connection to history, but also, for most people, something very, very personal, something about personal transformation. To me, as a young boy, the pyramids were my first contact with wanderings. I had, at 8 years old, by looking through books, discovered something really incredible waiting to be known. So today, on the 16,974th day of my life, I want to thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. This process of recording these videos here on my last day in Cairo, being able to finish it, have given me what I thought I lost. Falling in love with the future again. So, I hope we can continue our wanderings together, and I'll see you on the next time.